Even from this distance, I can smell them. Lizards. And there are many. Sound the alarm!
Hello, I'm Grayson Ottaway. Welcome back. This is Marvelous Videos. Lynxo, the oldest Thundercat. Origin explored. The blind Thunderian Lynxo was one of the few Thunderians who had survived the destruction of the planet. He had been blinded by fire before Thunder-R's unfortunate demise, but his blindness never turned into a disadvantage for him. Lynxo went on to hone his other senses to the best of his abilities. He also attained great wisdom and became a reliable figure for others to rely upon, especially for his insight. In today's video, we'll go over how Lynxo survived the destruction of Thunder-R and his experiences alongside Lion-O and the other Thunderians as an honorary Thundercat. But before we go into our explanation, a very small request. If you like our content, please support this channel by subscribing to it. Small click for you, but for us it means a great deal. Thank you. Let's go. Lynxo in the original Thundercats animated series. Lynxo was the oldest Thundercat alive, just as Lion-O was based on a lion, Chitara after a cheetah, and so on. Lynxo was based on the lynx. A braille board was made for Lynxo, which he used to learn about the lunatics from the moons of Plundar. What Lynxo lacked in eyesight, he made up for in vision. He could look beyond the superficial and into the heart of the matter. As a result, the Thundercats often looked up to Lynxo for his wise insights. He also had a cool and rational temperament. On the day of the Exodus, he tried to board the royal flagship, the one Lion-O and the Thundercats used, with Bengali and Pumaira. However, they were too late to do so, and so lost their chance at escaping with the others. Fortunately, a pair of Burbles rescued them, and together their ship crash-landed on a deserted island of Third Earth. They made a home out of the new planet, but things weren't as peaceful as they should have been. The undead sorcerer and the big bad guy of the show, Mumm-Ra, discovered their existence, and he could not let the opportunity leave his hands. Knowing that there were other Thunderians on Third Earth, Mumm-Ra sent a group of pirates called the Berserkers to capture them. Lynxo, Bengali, and Pumaira fought hard against Captain Hammerhand and his crew, but their efforts were ultimately futile and they were captured. The three of them were taken to the Fire Rock Mountain at first, but they were able to get away thanks to Lion-O. While Bengali and Pumaira were oblivious to it, Lynxo knew of Lion-O's involvement, thanks to his finely tuned senses. Later, Lion-O made the three of them honorary Thundercats. Lynxo's wisdom ticked off Mumm-Ra in all the wrong ways. It ultimately resulted in the demon priest viewing him as a threat, and rightfully so. Naturally, he tried to destroy Lynxo with the help of a being called the Immortus, who could turn his victims to stone or launch telepathic attacks on them. The being Immortus launched its attack while Lynxo was piloting the Thunderstrike. He ended up crashing the vehicle, allowing Immortus to touch his face with its tentacle and mark him. The being then used a telepathic attack to make Lynxo believe that he was an outcast, prompting the Thundercat to go to the Land of No Return, a place where the latter had been banished to by Mumm-Ra himself with Immortus. In the Land of No Return, Immortus touched Lynxo's face again, causing the old Thundercat to start turning into stone. But before he could turn into a statue, he was saved by Lion-O and brought back to his original state of being. This was not the only instance where Lynxo found himself at an overwhelming disadvantage because of the very thing that made him strong. In the episode The Mask of Gorgon from the original Thundercat series, he fell victim to a series of mental visions and attacks that had a lot to do with the mysterious artifact called the Mask of Gorgon. The episode opened with Bengali and Pumaira seeking the help of Lion-O and the others because Lynxo had lost control of his Thunderstrike. Fearing that he would crash into something, Lion-O intervened and used the Sword of Omens to enter Lynxo's chamber while Lynxo was struggling with an ominous mental attack that was preventing him from maneuvering his aerial vehicle the right way. The crisis was averted, and the other Thundercats learned that Lynxo had been acting this way since last night while working at the Tower of Omens. Fortunately, it did not take much time for the original problem to come to the surface. Unfortunately, it was a problem that could cause the destruction of Third Earth. Mum-Ra was on the lookout for an artifact called the Mask of Gorgon. It was a gigantic mask made out of silver and embedded in an old tree. The warrior maidens guarded the artifact, and its eyes were made to face westward so that the mask could never look toward the direction of the hills of Elfshima. Locking eyes with the mask allowed it to turn beings to stone, kind of like Medusa. Meanwhile, with the power of the Eye of Thundarar's sight beyond sight, it could turn stone to flesh. The reason why it was made to look away from the hills of Elfshima was because the hills were not hills at all. In reality, Elfshima was an anagram for I am flesh, and it could turn into a gigantic creature called the Child of Gorgon, with the power of the mask. And this was the power that Mum-Ra wanted to harness and to control. Lion-O learned of this from Lynxo, thanks to the latter's visions. He immediately stepped out to avert the crisis, but unfortunately, Mum-Ra tricked him into locking eyes with the Mask of Gorgon, which he had gotten his hands on with some help from the Lunatics and a spell. With Lion-O turned into stone, Mum-Ra was able to get the Sword of Omens. He then used its sight beyond sight on the Mask of Gorgon, allowing it to summon evil beyond evil. While the hills of Elfshima transformed into the Child of Gorgon, Lynxo left the Cat's Lair with Bengali to stop the massacre, as he knew what he needed to do to defeat this monstrous enemy. The Child of Gorgon devastated the geography of its surroundings, while Lion-O had been turned into a statue. Soon, Lynxo and Bengali flew into the ear canal of the giant and used the blast from the Thunderstrike to disbalance the creature. While Mum-Ra wailed, Lynxo got the Thunderstrike to come out of the ear canal, causing the Child of Gorgon to fall to the ground. The fall of such an enormous creature made the ground tremble and split, and the tremors caught up to the Mask of Gorgon, which ultimately fell from a height and broke apart. As the mask was broken, its effects came undone, and the damage caused by the Child of Gorgon was also reversed. Lynxo played a great role in preventing the destruction of New Thundur in the final episode of the original Thundercats called The Book of Omens. In the episode, New Thundur was undergoing geographical disasters, which could be reversed by presenting the Key of Omens and 4 other items to the places of the disasters. The Thundercats split up into units to represent the items to the different locations, while Lion-O used the Key of Omens to enter the Book of Omens and present the key to the Guardian of the Omens. Without the key, the other Thundercats would not be able to restore their respective spots. Naturally, Mum-Ra intervened and stole the key to enter the Book of Omens, and Lion-O followed in pursuit. But he did not have much time left to get the key and present it to the Guardian. Meanwhile, Lynxo had formed a unit with Chitara to go to the Caverns of Cold. The place used to be known as the Gardens of Thundur during the days of the old Thundur. It was lush, green, and beautiful, but the influence of the second moon of Plundar had turned it into a miserable, cold, barren land where hardly any life could survive. Lynxo maneuvered the aerial ship while the duo headed towards the caverns. He revealed to Chitara a tile from a beautiful fountain in the garden that it used to be. Returning that tile to the caverns would turn it back into its original beautiful state. In the caverns, Lynxo and Chitara came close to the fountain when their paths were blocked by ice. Stuck in the place, they had no other option but to wait for Lion-O to present the key to the Guardian. Meanwhile, the Guardian went on to freeze them in time, since Lion-O had to engage in a duel with Mum-Ra and his evil forces. Ultimately, Lion-O emerged victorious, and Lynxo and Chitara were able to restore the Caverns of Cold into a beautiful garden, while the other Thundercats also restored their respective geographical locations.
Lizards. And there are many. Sound the alarm!
Lynxo in the 2011 Thundercats animated series. Lynxo returned in the 2011 adaptation of Thundercats, but due to the show being cancelled after just 1 season, he barely enjoyed his screen time. He served in the Thunderian army as a blind general before Panthro and Groon left in search of the Book of Omens. He was also the first person who sensed the attack of Thundur by the lizards. However, we never got to know about his fate following the invasion him and whether he survived the attack or not. He wasn't even spoken of until the 5th episode of the show. The show was supposed to have had a second season, and according to this story sketch, Lynxo was supposed to be the reason why Slythe and the lizards would join Mumra in the first place. It would have been cool to know how Lynxo's actions would end up being responsible for the union that brought about the destruction of life on Thundera. Unfortunately, the Lynxo here would not succeed at making it till the end and instead died at the hands of Slythe.
No! The pages turn and their words bring...
What makes Lynxo so powerful? Lynxo was renowned for his sharp sensing abilities. Because he was blind, he fine-tuned his other senses, such as his hearing and his smell. He also had an ability called the Nerve Pinch, which could knock his opponents out. Being blind made Lynxo vulnerable to physical attacks. To counter that, he used a weapon called the Light Shield, which he wore on his wrist. The shield reflected attacks and light back at the enemies and even projected its own light. Since Lynxo was blind, that light could never affect him.
Right, old friend?
Yes, Lion-O. Thank you. Thank you all.
The marvelous verdict. Lynxo brought about a sense of balance to the Thundercats. Even among his original trio with Bengali and Pumaira, Lynxo was the wise and rational one between the two more impulsive cats. As an honorary Thundercat, he showed us time and again how actions based on anger were the wrong way to approach things. His wisdom was an asset for the Thundercats, and his teachings were a gift to the 80s kids who enjoyed the show. If you like our content, don't forget to leave us a like, and please subscribe to us if you haven't already. Do have a good one, and please be safe. Thank you.
Affects the balance. All right, blast!